Today on the show, we have Scary, guitarist of the Pride of Savannah, Georgia, Black Tusk. This is another episode of Zen Perry Project. Thanks for tuning in one more time. And I just asked you how you're doing, but how are you doing today? Really?
Doing good. Doing good. How about yourself?
Doing great. It's been a lovely day. Went to the beach. So
nice.
Playing, yeah. You know, even out here in New York City, I try to make it seem like it's California, but it's not.
Too hot to go out.
It is. It was cold today.
Not here.
Yeah, what's the weather like over there right now?
Muggy, hot, humid, thunderstorms rolling in every night. Yeah, trees falling down in my yard. It's fun.
Oh shit! So you're currently in Savannah right now, right?
Yeah, I'm a few miles outside of Savannah. But yeah, just right outside.
All right. Well, we're definitely gonna get into Savannah because it's a place I've never been to. Have you ever been there, Michael? Nope, neither of us have been there, so I'm excited to hear about it. We'll get into that in just a second. So you have been with Black Tusk since 2018, is that correct?
Yeah, so I was living in Virginia. So I'm actually from Virginia and was living in Virginia for a few years, decided to move back. And when I moved back, I've been buddies with those dudes since they started. I moved to Savannah in 06 and met those dudes like pretty much right after they started. Moved back. I've been doing audio engineering for a long time, and basically they hit me up. They're like, "Hey, we're doing a new record. We want you to engineer it." So I engineered TCBT, and then after it was all done, mixed off, they were like, "Hey, we do a lot of two guitar stuff on this record. We're thinking about maybe trying to do that live." So I went out, played a few shows with them, and just kind of stuck. And I think my first show was March 8th.
What year was that?
2018. Yeah, which was actually it was 8th on the original bass player Black Tusk, who passed away in 2014, I believe. It was his birthday, so that felt really cool to get to kind of play my first show with him on his birthday.
Yeah, I'm sure that's an emotional thing around the whole band and the very tight knit scene that's in Savannah, Georgia. From the more I read about it, I mean, it seems like everybody's kind of looking out for each other out there. So
yeah. I mean, there's there's all different kinds of bands in Savannah, from like punk to metal to like country to just indie rock stuff. And I feel like it's such a small place that like everybody, like, no matter like what genre you're in, you kind of all like at least try to look out for each other and point each other in the right direction. So
what do you think makes Savannah, Georgia such a kind of tight knit music scene? Because like the more I look into it, there's so many bands that come out of there. Why do you think it's such a great music scene? Like what offers itself in the area or the people that make it so?
Well, it's an art school. Like, so SCAD's here, so like you have this constant revolving door of young creative people. And so there's always like new bands starting and then just disappearing overnight. But then, like, it is a small town, so you kind of get to know each other and you like see each other around and you just kind of strike up conversations. I've got a studio that I record local bands and local and regional bands here, and I meet a lot of people, and you strike up friendships, and then you're just like your buddies, and then you just like you meet everybody, and everybody's for the most part pretty cool.
Yeah, so, what's the name of your studio? Plug it if you feel like it.
I call it hidden audio. I try to keep it hidden so my neighbors don't know about it. But yeah, it's fun.
Definitely want to get more into recording in general, because that's kind of what we're building down here. We got some mixing boards and we got some new stuff going. But yeah, we're in a basement and we have neighbors everywhere. So
yeah,
I'm curious to see how it gets with you.
And that's the thing, is like I bought this house that's like short, like maybe 10 miles outside of Savannah, because it was like the only place that I could get that. I actually have like 1.7 acres. So I have a little bit of space between my neighbors, and then I bought the house, demoed the garage, like took everything out. Andrew and his company came out and helped me like really fine tune it, build it. His company came out and did like, the framing and installation, all that stuff. Me and my dad hung the drywall. Yeah.
It's a good little project. So
yeah.
Andrew's more in he's kind of in construction or framing or something like that.
Yeah. Him, and it's so funny, because like he's got a bunch of, like, it's him and another guy, and they own a construction company. And I mean, it's like small crew, but they they like Savannah's full of houses that need restoring and repair due to all the humidity and like old houses just rotting away. So he's always busy. But yeah, like his crew is all full of musicians and stuff. So like when Andrew takes off on tour, he knows that like somebody else is going to be taking off to go play shows and stuff. So
Yeah, we can't all go on tour at the same time. All right.
no, yeah.
I love that. I I gotta get into how you got into the band, but first, how the hell did you get the name Scary?
I actually had a message with Derek and Andrew. I was like, I wonder if it's going to be the first 1 to 3 questions of like when the so it was a dumb joke band I did in high school, and it was Scary Manilow, and my backing band was Kill Your Mother, Drink Her Blood, and it was just like one of those things that it was a joke, and then people started calling me that like at age 18, and now I'm 40, and it's just stuck, and it's just like I'll never not be like my parents call me Scary now. Like every people actually don't even know my real name. Some people don't even know my real name. It's
It's scary.
one of those, yeah, you just like it follows you.
Oh, well, I love that. How did you said you've known these guys since I guess the inception of the band, which was back in 2005.
Yeah.
You've been around for a while.
Yes,
What
I
was it?
moved to Savannah. I moved to Savannah in '06, and like so what brought me to Savannah was one of my roommates in college was Alan from Baroness. So we both went to the same school, and then when I graduated, he graduated and moved down here to pursue Baroness, and he was like, "Why don't you just move to Savannah?" So I was working at Lowe's at the time. I was like, "Yeah, I got nothing to do. Yeah, okay." So put in my 2 weeks notice, moved down here. Within like a week, uh, John John from Baroness was doing a cover band, a Misfits cover band for June 606, 6606. And Summer usually played bass on that with their little Misfits cover band. But Summer was out of town. He knew I already knew all the bass parts. So he asked me to play. And it was John and Brian from Baroness and Andrew and James from Black Tusk. So I met James and Andrew within a week or two of moving to Savannah, and then like just been tight with all those dudes ever since.
Yeah, do you guys have an affectionate name for the crew of long-haired heavy rock metal players in Savannah, Georgia?
We don't. We should think of one.
I don't know, in San Diego where we're from, it's the Hesh crew. I don't know, it's like kind of
Okay.
the skaters, and they all
Yeah.
lifts, and it's a uh for I don't know, I'm not trying to say what do you call yourself, but I just
Yeah.
if there's a name for it.
I don't know. We'll have to. Well, yeah, we'll have to put out a poll and see what sticks.
I mean, swamp metal. I mean, is I don't know if that's what you guys came up with for the Black Tusk sound, but uh, that fucking works.
Yeah, it's I don't even remember who, like, if that was James or who came up with that uh name, but yeah, it's stuck and it kind of fits because like it's funny because we get lumped in with a lot of bands that like we always don't feel like we absolutely like really sound like, and it's like people don't know if we're sludgy, if we're metal, if we're punk, because like you kind of, I don't know, I'm not trying to say like we're so wild because like we're punk and metal because so many bands do that, but like people are like you get booked on a metal shows and you don't really fit, then you get booked on a punk shows, you don't really fit, and it's like just you're somewhere in between that.
Yeah, it's like this sludgy. I mean, you guys. We've been interviewing a lot of people who've played Desert Fest lately, and I feel like that's the common thread. It's like too heavy for this and too light for this.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah,
that
I like Mothership would be another good one that's like kind of like Mothership from Texas. They're like kind of on the boundary here and on the boundary there. They're amazing. I love that band. But they like it's like, is it like kind of stoner metal? Is it like kind of like this? And it's like, but is it metal? Is it like what is it? But
what do you kind of think defines your guys' sound if you had to put it out there? This question could go nowhere, but what do you think? What do you think defines your guys' sound?
That's a great question because like I always feel like we we write a lot of fast stuff, but then we always try to like also pull it back and not do we don't really do that much slow, but like mid tempo stuff, we try to like introduce a little bit more of that back into the set and everything and while writing new songs and everything, trying to like get that mid tempo back, but still like most of the time it just stays with that pretty fast stuff, which is always funny. Like when we get booked on like with slower bands, and then we're just like, wow.
Yeah, it's always good to have somebody like that. It
Yeah,
brings
totally.
it gives it a little
Break it up.
little contrast, little
Yeah,
contrast.
totally.
What was your first sort of? Do you have any fun, crazy stories about some of the guys in the band before you joined it? About anything that kind of stuck out about these guys before you joined the band that you kind of thought of as Black Tusk or any other bands or iterations they were in?
So yeah, I'm when I first met all three, like the three main dudes that were in Black Tusk, James, Andrew, and Athon, uh, like the Black Tusk was already established. We the first I think 3 months after I moved to Savannah, they did a small run down to Florida, and I just hopped in the van and went with them. And it was Black Tusk Baroness summer of '06 down to Florida. It was super hot, just disgusting. And like I just remember I was in the Baroness van and Black Tusk dudes passed us in their doom buggy with the van door wide open, just blazing down 95. I was like, man, these dudes are awesome. I'm gonna be buddies with these guys. And then like, Athon and I, we'd always ride motorcycles, and Andrew and I, like we had, we were always messing around with other like bands for Halloween. Like we've got a Minor Threat cover band that we do for Halloween. We just drink a bunch of beer and play straight edge songs. It's great. Um, and yeah, and like so then I was in another band called Dead Yet and Black Tusk. We did a split together, and then we got to go on the road and like just going on the road with those dudes. It's always just getting out of town with all those guys are so much fun. So when they asked me to be in the band, I was like, it was kind of a no brainer. I knew I was going to click with these guys, and it's been super fun.
uh I had to go back. You said you mentioned they had a dune buggy. Is that they
Yeah.
they were touring in a dune buggy?
Well, no, it was called the Doom Buggy.
Oh, the doom buggy.
Yeah, it was like an old Chevy. I think it was like a old Chevy van, and it had like mood lights in it and everything. It was just like one of those like really gross '70s vans, but it was awesome. Yeah.
And you said they had the doors off?
The door just like because it was like a sliding van door, and it was just like they would cruise down the road with the door wide open because they didn't have AC in it.
God.
It'd just be like crushing beers, van door wide open.
Yeah, it sounds like probable cause is what Michael just said over there.
Oh yeah, it was like yeah, and you're in Florida too, so that was just bad news written all over it.
Yeah. And I mean, you said you used to, ride motorcycles, or maybe you still do, but just because I don't think I've actually got to talk motorcycles at all with anybody yet on this show. What have you ridden in the past, or what are your kind of go-tos, or?
So the bike that I had for the longest period was 2003 Harley Softail Standard. Uh I think when I got rid of it, the only thing stock on it was the engine. Um like it was like I had gone through a Springer front end, went back to the hydraulic front end, had big 16-inch ape hangers, had been fully lowered down. I remember going on a really long ride, just getting off the bike, just like, oh, I don't think my back's been the same ever since. Like probably like an 8-hour ride and just killed my back. Um, but then yeah, once Athon got hit and died, then more of my friends started getting hurt, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it up. I'm just gonna move on. And then every now and then I start like looking at them again, but then somebody else I know is like, all right, I just need to not.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Just out of curiosity, are you allowed to ride without a helmet around those parts?
Not in Georgia, but is if you go like 10 miles north into South Carolina, you can,
Gotcha. Yeah.
which I did a lot.
I figured. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, it's scary. It's also like when I was riding in California, it's like you had to have a helmet on.
Yeah.
But and I was like, oh yeah, it's for safety, and I, would buy cool ones. But I mean, if I didn't have to, and I just felt like just riding, I mean, I'm sure I would without it. But they call those, yeah, it's
I
rough.
remember like back in the day, I just got like one Saturday, I just jumped on the bike, started heading south, and ended up in Daytona. And I was like, I kept seeing people without helmets in Florida. So I looked up the law, and it was really weird because like apparently in Florida, I don't know if this is still a law, but it was back then. You didn't have to wear a helmet if you had health insurance, which you would think they'd want it the other way around. So like if you fall and you hit your head, like it's not going to look good for you. So
No,
might as well just not have health insurance and just
yeah, what the fuck?
it's kind of counterintuitive and I don't know.
Okay, let's go back to the band because these
Yeah,
dumb
yeah, that's going.
laws are just we talk about that all day. Um, so you first got kind of recording them. When was your first time kind of getting in the studio or seeing these guys in more of a laid down foundational thing that you were maybe recording or helping with them with in Black Tusk?
So I met like when I first moved to Savannah, like I was getting, I think it was the first week I was here, I got a phone call from Baroness being like, "Hey, can you come record our practice?" Because they were working on the Red album at the time. So I would go down to the basement of the Jinx, and just all my stuff was mobile at that point, much smaller setup, and I would just like go down. I did pre-production for them, and then the dudes from Black Tusk heard that, and they said, "Well, hey, we're doing pre-production for this, or like we're going to record this record. Can you come to our space and just do like demo out the whole record so we can like give it to the engineer and say, hey, this is what we're going to be recording?" And I've pretty much done that for just about every single Black Tusk record up until Pillars of Ash, because I had moved to Virginia and I wasn't around to do that one.
Okay,
But
yeah. And what kind of what have you always wanted to be kind of on the recording end of things? Is that always something that you strive for? Did you go to school for it? Like what started
I
you going
didn't
down
know, fully self-taught. I I've worked with other engineers and like kind of like picked up things here and there from other people. Um, no, like zero formal training. Uh, it's just something I like from, I feel like when you're a kid and you start getting into music and you go to your buddy's house who's got the Tascam 4-track, and the first time you're sitting there recording, you either absolutely love it or you absolutely hate it. And I was the kid that loved it and just was like, all right, I need to get a 4-track. I need to like do this. I need to learn how to do this. You buy the big book that's like audio, how to record. Like this is back in the 90s. And you're just like, yeah, I'm going to do this. And um, so yeah, it's just like one of those things that like, I'm pretty sure Andrew hates being in this or like hates recording. But I love it. So like, it's always that like two, like you either love it or you hate it. But
there?
yeah.
And there's some people I who I've worked with who hate being recorded, but they kind of it almost drives them to give such an amazing performance
Yeah,
quicker.
because they just want to get it over with and
They
done.
just, yeah, they're just like I got a date later, like I gotta get out of here or
Yeah,
something like that. Like I hate this whole thing, but um,
yeah,
and then there's some people who are like, no, I think 16 hours today, 16 hours tomorrow, we might get one guitar track down, maybe. Uh,
yeah.
is the way I've seen that.
I definitely have bands come in here and like crush full length in a weekend, and like they just nail it because they come in, they're prepared, they just do it. And then I have people come in here and spend like 10 days, and let's still like, okay, we have the drums and one guitar done.
Yeah. So were you recording with you were in a band called Dead Yet and Man Should Party? Is that how you say that?
Man Should Party. Dude, all right. So Man Should Party is like one of those dumb things that just happened one time. I was recording this other band, and my parents always used to leave a refrigerator full of Bud Lights whenever they would leave my house. They were like, "Yeah, you can drink those." It's like I don't want them. But they would always leave. That like, I mean, great parents. They were always trying to just take care of me, make sure I had all the beer I needed. So they would leave Bud Light, and then one day, like we attached a GoPro to the top of a Bud Light bottle, and I started drinking it, and I burped, and all this foam came out, and we thought it was hilarious. So we are like, let's make a band to put on this video. So we like packed up everything, went to the space, wrote, recorded a song, and we're like, shit, that's a band. And so like the next time we got together, and it was all just like we wrote it and recorded it at the same time. We put zero thought into it. And it's kind of like just, I don't know, angry, crappy rock and roll, punk rock stuff. But like we put absolutely no thought into it. And it was just super fun.
I mean, with a origin story like that, I think it doesn't really need much of
Yeah.
a more of a thought than that.
Yeah. And like we still talk about like getting back together and doing it, but like zero riff, like you walk into the room, zero riffs ready to go. You sit down, and like the second time we hung out, we put out an EP in one day, like 4-song EP. We're just like, couple hours in, just who cares?
Yeah. Were you playing around with this band? Like, were you playing shows with this band in general?
No, we've never played a show, because it was just like as soon as we wrote the song, it was just like already out of our, like we completely forgot it. It's like, who cares? We'll just write a new one.
Yeah. Let's do another one right now. How about that?
Yeah.
We're
Yeah, you just start playing this riff, and then somebody's like, okay, I got it. And then the other guitar players start riffing, soloing over it. And it's like, all right, cool. And then our drummer was actually like, we said, hey, Lee, you do the vocals when it's time to go. So Lee actually did he plays drums, and then he did the vocals. So
hell yeah.
yeah.
Were your I mean, you've mentioned your parents leaving you with that Bud Light, and I guess that was the original start of this band. What have your parents always been super supportive? Like, what was you getting into music back in the day?
Oh yeah, my parents, they've always been super supportive. Like my parent, like, so Black Tusk, before I was in Black Tusk, whenever they played my hometown, they would stay at my parents' house. Andrew would always go around my parents' house, like sending me pictures of me in high school, and be like, "Ha, look at you, dummy!" And like, and then since I've been in Black Tusk, whenever we play my hometown, we have never stayed at my parents' house. So it's almost like they're like, "Oh, you're in the band? Nah, you can't stay here anymore." But no, my parents, they're super cool. They are very supportive. I actually learned to play bass. Bass was my first instrument, and I learned to play bass on my dad's P bass that he got when he was in college, which is a 67 P bass. So that's like that was the first instrument I ever like started playing.
What were you first doing? Like, what was your first shows? What was your first people playing with? Like, how'd your whole musical thing get started? What made you fall in love with it?
I was like grew up in Harrisonburg, Virginia, and like where JMU is, about 2 hours west of Richmond, up in the Shenandoah Valley. And basically like this was in the mid to late 90s, so it was like a lot of punk rock stuff and a lot of skate punk. And so I was just all about playing very fast. So a lot of punk rock stuff. I remember just, playing basements. I grew up playing basement shows, and I remember, like I wasn't at the show, but like I was 15 years old, and Refused played in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And that's like the show where they like broke up and got deported and everything. So that was in my hometown. Um, I was probably at home doing my homework, but
That's sick.
yeah.
What was your first band? I always like to ask people this question. What was the first name of your first band, if you can remember it?
Pretty sure the first band was a band called Good Intentions. I think that was the first. There might have been one before it that just like never came to. That was the first band I was ever in that played a show, and it was just like awful punk rock.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, terrible.
I love those origin stories of how people like come to be, because it's always a dumb, fun, awkward start. I mean, I first started playing when I was 12, and my first band was called Bathroom Wall. I think
Nice.
a Motley Crue song or something like that. So there's a yeah, it's always fun to kind of go down memory lane with that sort of thing. So your guitar playing, you mentioned that you play guitar, Black Tusk. You started off with bass, especially if you were playing fast stuff back in the day. How was it learning kind of the back catalog of Black Tusk's stuff when you first joined?
It really I think the hardest part was sometimes hearing on the recordings the slight nuances of the chord progression, because sometimes like Andrew's guitar tone was just like, he like, up until this new record, Andrew was always on a JCM 800 with some sort of overdrive, probably an OCD, like full tone OCD going into that. So it was a crunchy, gritty, gross tone. And then Athon had just the gnarliest low bass. Like that dude had zero top end on his bass. So sometimes like, things would be going and it's like such a so much chaos in the chord progression that you wouldn't hear this oh, actually the da da da, when I just thought it was like da 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 da, it was like da 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 da. It's like just little things that I just couldn't hear. So I've been listening to the records since they came out, so I knew the songs, but I just didn't know like the little nuances and everything.
Yeah, and I
Still,
think
still kind of catching a few of them every now and then.
I mean, those nuances and details are kind of what makes any great band, even if they sound like they're just like very slow and sludgy or something like that. It's those nuances that kind of grab your attention, even if it's kind of like subliminal.
Yeah, like I mean, you might learn the song just by listening to it, like just any song, and then like you actually see them play it as like they play it slightly different, or like Stones and AC/DC are known for like not playing with standard chords, and like it's like I remember watching this video that's like, I forget who it was, but they're like, yeah, you've been playing this song wrong your whole life, and watching him play, I was like, oh yeah, that's why it sounds different on the recording.
Love that. I mean, I love when I learn something new about it. I mean, I'm a drummer, so especially that's why I'm so obsessed with watching live videos. I mean, you guys put on a sick live show, so and we can't wait to see you here. I think we got the
Yeah,
date.
man.
Plug that here at the end, but
Yeah, I can't wait to get back to
I
Vitus, man.
mean, it's pretty cool to see like kind of just the nuance of how somebody plays something live and why the most basic thing can actually sound way cooler if you do it in a more difficult way.
Yeah. Or like, sometimes just keeping it straightforward, and just like, that's my favorite thing about James's drum playing. He's not like this crazy, like doing all these nasty fills. Like he locks it down and just plays the beat hard and just locks it in. He's a powerhouse. Like that dude. I remember we were in Sweden one time, and like they've got hard rules on how loud you can be. So they had the big decibel reader at the back of the room, and James was just crushing the snare. And it was like from the back of the room, it was like over 100 decibels.
Damn.
And like, yeah, that dude is just a monster playing drums. Like, I love playing music with James. He's such a just hard hitting, tight drummer, and just that dude just plays so hard and like plays his heart out. It's awesome.
I mean the name of the I'm a huge sucker for good branding. I guess I wish I had a better word for it, but I mean Black Tusk. It sounds like the name of the band, and I just love that so much. And
It just fits.
yeah, you just think of this like prehistoric shit, and just like really going at you.
Yeah.
Um, what was kind of like the first way that you guys kind of got to start like playing together, in the sense of like what were like some of the nuances that you can kind of first take away when you started playing shows with them? Was there anything in like specifically, was there any like albums or songs specifically that you really loved before you actually started playing with them?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always a fan of like, when you go see a band, like I've known the guys, and I've watched Black Tusk for years. So I know that when I saw them, there were songs that I wanted to hear. And so like joining the band, I was like, dude, we gotta play old songs. Like you guys have like completely bailed on some of these old songs. And as somebody who's been like around for a long time, I want to hear stuff off Taste of Sin. I want to hear stuff off Set the Dial. um so I've always been like, when they're like, oh, we should change out a song, like we should go back to Taste of Sin.
Yeah, I mean, so and then I guess just playing with them. I mean, for the drums, it's always amazing. Like what other sort of like, is there any sort of like pedals or guitar amps? I mean, you guys are huge orange proponents. You guys love orange amps, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so I had been playing orange since like 2009, 2010. Um, so I first like took the leap, bought an orange when I was in my old band Dead Yet, and I just before that I was playing a Mesa dual rectifier, so that was easy to beat. Um, I especially for that sound that I was going for, it was just like was way too modern, and so I got the orange, and I was like, "Whoa, this is exactly what I want. This is the amp I wanted." And so I've been playing orange since then. So when I joined Black Tusk, Corey, who was the bass player at the time, he had worked out a relationship with Orange, and so I was like, "Cool, I'm gonna play Orange also." And then Andrew has had the same JCM 800 since like '06, and it has toured. I mean, that thing has seen all like so many miles, and it's just like, dude, you gotta retire that. It's not a reliable head. I mean, it was a great sounding head, but like some heads, like you just gotta like, I don't know, decommission or like just say, all right, this one's for the studio, or like this one's for like playing around the house. We just needed something that was a little bit more reliable. It's spent a lot of time in the shop, so he got one of the Orange Crush 100s, which was a solid state, great sounding amp, but it like we just wanted like want something a little bit more. And so a buddy of mine from Virginia was selling an OR50 with a case for a great price, and he offered it to me. And I was like, Andrew, you better jump on this, otherwise I'm buying it. So he's been rocking the OR50, and I've been doing the Rockover 100, and those two are like just slightly different enough that we both get different tones, but they sound great together. And then Derek's using an 8200. So
Who do you think has the most of like a guitar pedal collection problem?
until I built out this studio, I would say it was Andrew. Um, because I still remember when we were doing TCBT, they came in with like suitcases full of pedals. Um, but Andrew is not definitely not like a super gear dude. Like I will talk gear all day for hours and just like, oh, what's that one do? Oh, what's that one do? So like once I bought the studio, or like once I built out the studio, I just started like buying pedals and collecting and everything. So my collection's getting bigger and bigger. Andrew says I have a problem. I don't know. But
That's what we wanted to know. Yeah.
yeah, so like yeah, out of everybody, like once the studio came up a pretty big part of my life, the gear grew exponentially.
If you're able to say what is your like go-to pedals or something that's always with you with playing with Black Tusk?
Let me grab my pedal board.
Yeah, grab it. Hell yeah.
Hey Zen here, hope you're enjoying the show. Just a little reminder, if you want to follow us, go to Zen Perry Project on Instagram. Always give us a like, follow, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Okay, I'm just going to let you keep on listening. Here we go, right back to it.
During COVID, we took the time to kind of reassess our boards. We all just had like plywood boards that we had built, and uh, I had a dedicated power supply, and I felt like that was something very important, that we all needed dedicated power supplies. So I offered to Andrew, like, hey, let's order this stuff. I'll build the pedal boards. I'll like custom wire them. I'll do everything. So we all got the exact same pedal train Metro 20, with the power supply mounted underneath, and we all use like completely different pedals. But so this is my board right now. So
Yeah.
it goes wah, which I just added because a new song that I'd never used a wah before, but a new song that we wrote has a wah, so I had to buy one. Uh, wah into the tuner, synthesized Boss SY1, super cool pedal. Grand Orbiter, I love Earthquaker pedals; they're incredible. Um, this guy, Flashback 2 from TC Electronic, it's a delay that you can plug in your computer and make the wildest delays, and it actually has the foot switch is a built-in expression pedal. So as you push it down harder, you can actually program it to do whatever you want. So for me, it actually increases the feedback and speeds up the time. So you get this like ramp up thing. So that's pretty fun. And then underneath is just the best reverb in the world, in my opinion.
So did you program with that after the what was it aftermath the blue pedal? Did you actually program in your computer for Black Tusk stuff? And
yeah, so like I basically you can set your own presets. So that way, like if you want the knobs to always be this way, you can set them so the knobs basically do nothing and everything's built into that preset. So like I have it to where I have a little bit of play on the level. So if I'm like not getting enough level, I can turn it up, but it's like pretty much just like a few dBs up or down. And then I also have a tap tempo on it. So while we're playing, I can tap it. So it's actually like right. James is a metronome. So like once I get that tempo in, it's perfect. So.
Wow. All right, cool. Well, thanks for showing us that.
Yeah.
That's super rad. And your guys' sound, I mean, it's huge, and it just like it's I mean I personally would call that a pretty simple pedal board. So you guys are pretty dialed in as far as what you want with the band.
So like during COVID, everybody had all the time in the world. You're just like, well, I'm just sitting around the house. So I was going down the deep dive. I was like trying to find the drive pedal that defines me as a human. And so like I was just going down like this rabbit hole, buying drive pedals, selling drive pedals. And then like I was just like, I had so many drive pedals. And then I was just like, I just plugged in the orange, turned on the drive, and I was like, I'm done. There it was the whole time. But it was like one of those things where I was like, all right, so if we do a fly-in and I don't have an orange, I want to have a drive pedal that sounds sick and just sounds great, and I'll be happy with. Because we've done some shows where we show up to use the backline, and I'm just like, oh, I'd rather not be here. Which actually, I'm gonna plug it. The Tetrafet drive from Nunez Amplification. So John from Torch and Shitstorm and everything. That pedal is stupid. It's so amazing. So I have the studio, and every band that comes in here and they're like, oh, I'm kind of looking for this, but we want something a little different. That pedal into a power amp, just a power amp, just people's jaws drop. So if you have the chance to try one out, I cannot recommend it enough. It's such a cool pedal.
Love those little nuggets of truth.
Yeah,
Great.
that's. If I were to like, if we were to like go on tour, I kind of wanted to get a second one to just keep in my tour rig. So if we ever did play one of the shows, I can just like plug it in and have it.
Hell yeah. I mean, probably a good time to bring it up. What is your guys' plan right now? What are you doing at the moment?
So we actually have completed our new record. It is off to Season of Mist, and artwork's done. It's mastered. It's fully completed. So we're sitting on that, waiting for that to go to the press and start that tour cycle for the new record.
So that's awesome. So John basically tends to do the album artwork for Black Tusk. Is he doing this artwork?
So John did the artwork up through, I think, Set the Dial. And then To No Wounds, which was an EP, that was with Brian Mercer. And then during the production, or it was after the record was fully completed and everything, that's when Athon got in the motorcycle accident and passed away. So that record came out after he had passed away, but there was a lot of back and forth on that, and I think John was having a hard time getting like, I think every time he started, it was like just one of those emotional things for him. So we got our buddy Jeremy Clark, or this is before I was in the band, so they got Jeremy Clark to do the artwork for that one, and that came out great. And then After that, Corey took over on bass, and that's when I came in. We recorded the new record and kind of went a separate or kind of a different direction. It was kind of a collaboration between Corey and Brian Mercer as far as that TCBT cover, looking like spray painted on a road case and all that. But yeah, and then for this new record, we have Brian Mercer returning to do art again.
Cool.
Which Brian Mercer is based out of just outside of Philadelphia and Gloucester, New Jersey. I don't know if you're familiar with Brian Mercer, but amazing artist.
We'll definitely check him out. We'll plug him here.
Yeah, Mercer rock.
So I mean, so your guys' album is done. How's that feel? Did you record it primarily at your place, somewhere else? What was
it? Was 100% tracked here.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So it was fully tracked here.
So you can play drums there loud.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I thought you mentioned you were worried about neighbors, but I mean, if you're on 1.7 acres, like you're probably fine.
Yeah, like there's been times that I've come out here at 2:00 in the morning and play drums, and you can hear it outside, but like if a car drove down the road, it'd be louder. Like I took a lot of time working on this room and trying to get it to something that I wouldn't, because like the last thing I want to do is like piss off my neighbors or anything like that. Like I own this house. I want to be like neighborly to my people. So as long as I can keep them happy, I can keep making music. Cool.
Hell yeah. So how was the process for you guys? How long did it take to record? What was the writing process like?
So it was we started writing during COVID. Like it was James ended up moving to Athens, Georgia, which is kind of on the other side of the state. So it was like a lot of riffing, like recording riffs on your phone and everything, sending it to other people. And then we'd get together, like James would either come here or we'd go to Athens, and we just kind of say, all right, let's work on that one. Let's work on that one. And we just kind of like bounced around, just riffed on stuff. Like then we move on to something else and we move on to something else. And then it was just a very, let's just get ideas jotted down. And then we like stew on those for a little while, see what we like. Then we pick one and say, let's work on that one. Let's work on that one. And then once we had about 9 or 10, we're like, all right, let's actually go in the studio and really start to work on them. So we worked on like the first 7 for a little while, and then worked on the last 4 a few months later, because there was like a big lull where everybody was busy and we couldn't get everybody back in the same room together. But so it was kind of 2 sessions melded into one. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place.
Do you tend to record with everybody just present, or do you try to do like live tracking more than anything?
So Black Tusk has always done everybody's there and like record live together. This one was a little different because everybody was so spread out. People's schedules were really busy. So this was probably, I think this is the first record that it was kind of done a little bit more piecemeal. So I would like James, when he was playing drums, I would play with him, and then either Andrew or Derek would come in later, lay down their parts, and then vocals are always an afterthought for us. Like vocals come at the very, very end.
Yeah, I mean, some of your top played songs on Spotify are like don't even have vocals, but I mean,
yeah.
In general, it's about the riffs, it's about the feeling, it's about the energy. So I mean, I totally
because like I mean, like we write songs where it's like, oh, that sounds mean, or like that sounds like, yeah, I love that transition, I love that part. And yeah, vocals, like they're there just as like a garnish.
Ooh, that's a nice way to put it.
Especially like, yeah, any vocals I do, it's just they're I don't like my, like a lot of people, they don't like their voice. I hate my voice. So yeah, it's a garnish.
Swamp metal with a garnish of vocals.
Yeah, there you go.
There's your new bio right there. You're welcome. as we're kind of like doing more research on you guys, Joe Baresi popped up a couple times in that. Have you worked with him?
No, I met him once. I went to NAM a few years back with John and Alan, and like Joe Barisi, he's like one of those guys that like I've always kind of admired his production. Like he's worked on so many cool records.
Yeah,
And
let's stop that really quick. I mean, who is he? He's so many. I mean,
dude,
Percentage, Judas Priest, Chevelle, Bad Religion, Slipknot. I mean,
yeah.
I'm just
I
going.
mean, like the fact that like Brian, like that dude has mic'd up Brian, like Brian Baker is one of my favorite guitar players. And so like the fact that like he's done all his Bad Religion records, I think that's so cool. I mean, like, yeah, pretty much the two that like everybody's like, oh my god, are like Pinkerton and Songs for the Deaf.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I think it was Songs for the Deaf or Lullabies Paralyzed. Whichever one they, I forget whichever one they recorded the drums separately from the cymbals. Which I remember like seeing a mass. Was that
Songs for the Deaf? Yeah,
yeah, and it was the there was an interview with him, and he was like, would you recommend doing that? He's like, absolutely not.
yeah. And so many people are doing that now, especially in that and the kind of like the cleaner like for lack of a better term, pop rock scene.
Yeah,
Very
they're like super polished.
Yeah, they just get that punchy snare and bass drum. I guess I
That's
think
crazy.
essentially it.
If anybody came to the studio and was like, "Hey, we should do this," I'd be like, "Wrong studio."
I did that on an album once, and it was
Nightmare.
it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
It was during COVID, so we had all the time in the world. It was like
Okay.
we heard about it one time, so I don't want to let's just give it a shot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you could do it, like, cool. But man, that just sounds like a huge headache.
Yeah, for what it's worth, it was fun. But so I mean, so you met this guy, so yeah, continue with your story. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're fine. Yeah, I just met him and I was like, I'm not big on like going up to people and be like, oh my God, I'm a huge fan. I hate doing that 'cause it's like, it's just weird. And so like, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it. So I went over and I was like, hey, what's up, man? I just had to like say what's up. And then like, he's in there and like, it was just like this huge crew of people that I was like, wow, these are like such amazing musicians and engineers and everything. And it's like, I got to meet Joe Reese, man. He's just like, always been like one of those like every record that he's done, it just sounds polished but raw at the same time.
Yeah,
Like it's got the energy, but it sounds like you can hear everything so well. The drums are huge, the guitars are just nasty, but you can hear every note. Yeah, that's something I strive for.
there was some video I saw with him. This is probably a couple of years ago now, but I thought it was so interesting. I think he was recording 10,000 Days for Tool, but he was talking about like he's like, yeah, everybody wants weird sounds in the studio, but he's like, we like to make them here. So there's a part of the song where he like made this. He just like manufactured a box where he like drops on the ground and it has all these like springs and weird shit on them, and he's like, yeah, this is like, he's making art. He's making physical art for a recording.
Yeah,
Just wanted this weird sound, and
that's so cool.
So yeah, super interesting. I mean, that's a very obscure kind of example, but yeah, his vocals, everything he does, his mixing, he does so many different things. He's such an incredible player. So great that you got to meet him.
I see he does like recording master or like recording workshops and everything. It's like, man, all right, one day I'll take a trip out to LA and go hang out and like do one of his classes, because it'd be really fun to just like sit there and like learn, because that's for me the best thing with like recording or like playing music is like surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. Because or like not necessarily better, but like different, because you see something that they do and then you kind of like might take that and kind of bastardize it a little bit and make it your own. And it's something to where like, everybody who comes in the studio, like they might say, hey, what if we tried this? This works well for me. I'm like, cool, yeah, let's try it. And then we might be like, okay, what if we did this, and you just tweak it just a little bit, and you same thing with like playing with other musicians. You're like, oh wow, I really like the way that you like played it this way. I would have never thought to do it. It's just yeah
he's truly like an artist in that form, and he seems like a really humble dude. So I mean, I would love to sit in on just like learning a little bit from that guy as well. I just have a few more questions for you. This has been super fun. I always like asking people this, no matter what their walk of life is. But what do you kind of do when maybe you feel like you don't necessarily feel like you are playing well enough, or you're not maybe a good enough recording engineer, or you're comparing yourself to somebody else? Is there anything that comes to mind, or do you just not care?
Oh man, every day. Yeah. Like, not a week goes by that I'm just like, I just need to sell all this stuff in the studio and like go live in a tent somewhere. Self-doubt is like just human. Like you doubt yourself, you doubt your ability. Um, the best thing I do is just like I step away. If I start feeling that way, I just like walk away and come back to it. Um, and I try to push myself to like not settle for like that sounds okay. Like strive, not like make it an unhealthy like I don't know, obsession of being like I have to be better, but say I can do better and I should like strive to do better. Not to where like it makes me depressed to be like I'm not good enough. But yeah, just trying to progress your skills and just like keep working at it. You're gonna get bummed out because you're never gonna do it the best your first try. So like just keep trying at it. Like you get better over time. Like I've been recording bands since I was like 17 years old and I still feel like I suck. So I'm just like but then you go back and listen to those bands you recorded 17 years ago and you're like, whoa, I really sucked then. I've gotten a lot better. And it's like, same with guitar. Like the more you play and the more like, it's practice. Like the more you do it, the better you get. And it's just, and if you get in that self-defeating cycle of just I'm not good enough, I'm not going to do it, then you put it down and you walk away and you don't come back. That's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, I agree. And I think coming back to something is so important. And that's yeah, that's like I think one of the biggest things that people have a hard time doing. I feel like they have to take a step back for their own mental reasons. They feel like they've just
And
failed.
also like taking a step back to not burn out on
Yeah, no, it's easy.
it.
People can burn out on music
Oh
and
my God.
all the
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Like there was a month where I don't even know how many bands in the studio. Plus I was working a full-time job. I was trying to write this record with Black Tusk and I had a band in every like I was doing like 4 to 5 sessions a week on top of a full-time job. And it's like, dude, I just got burnt out. So
Yeah.
I'm actually like this month, I'm actually kind of taking this month off from the studio. Just because I know that we had this like short run going up the East Coast. I've got a lot of stuff going on in my personal life. So I'm just taking a little bit of time off from the studio and then start to book stuff out in the fall and in the winter. So hopefully it'll be busy, but like not too busy to where I'm just like hating life.
Yeah. You just want to find that perfect medium.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully it'll be a little bit colder too, so you can.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. I mean, it's my first like East Coast summer, and yeah, it's been super hot. I'm pretty used to 72 degrees and perfect all the time, so this is it's a slap in the face. But I cannot wait for this winter kind of being in the studio, actually getting to chill out, have that reason to just sit down and feel like you don't need to run off somewhere and do something.
Yeah, I've got a split unit in my studio, so it actually stays like in the 70s. Like I keep my house at like almost 80 because it's just like this unit is actually very well insulated with all the drywall and everything. It's like very well insulated, so it stays cool.
Hell yeah! I mean, that gives you more reason just being there, then, right?
Exactly.
Um. So you have some shows. We're very excited to see you Wednesday, August 30th at SAINT VITUS, New York City, Brooklyn.
Yes.
You have you're also playing Harrisburg, Virginia,
Which is my hometown.
yeah, your hometown,
Yeah.
August 29th.
And my parents won't be there.
Your parents won't be there?
No, they're out of town and we can't stay at their house.
Come on.
I know, right?
I like how
Yeah.
they won't even give you the key to the house anymore.
Yeah, what are the shows I gotta?
Yeah, anything you feel like plugging right now, and also when is the album dropping?
Great question. I would love to know myself. Yeah, so August 29th, we're playing Harrisonburg. They're in Brooklyn, Atlantic City, Montague, Massachusetts. We're playing RPM Fest. That we played it back in 2018. Super fun festival. It's camping and just 3 awesome days of rad bands. If you're in the area, don't miss it. It's so sick. Hamden, Connecticut, Space Ballroom, Providence, Rhode Island at the, Alchemy, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and then back to Columbia, South Carolina at New Brooklyn Tavern.
Oh yeah.
Short run, but yeah, it'll be fun.
I mean, it sounds perfect. We'll end the summer, rally.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. Anything else you want to let the people know? Anything else you got to get off your chest right now?
Yeah. As soon as we get more information on this record, we can't wait to talk more about it. Let people start seeing it, hearing it. We're real stoked on it. So.
Well, that sounds great. Very excited for it. Keep it up. Yeah, you guys are sick. Cannot wait to see you. And yeah, this is the Zen Perry Project, and I've been talking with Scary of Black Tusk. And thank you so much for taking the time to do this. It's been super fun.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
So we'll have a beer when you get in town. So
absolutely.
yeah, you have a great rest of your evening. Thank
Cool,
you.
man. Take it easy.